Okay, today I'm out at my local park here, and we seem to have some military vehicles on display behind me, and there's even an airplane up there. I just thought it was a nice place to do my video today, break up the background. Today, we're going to be looking at Psalm 86, and again, a worship psalm, but also a psalm about God coming to rescue. Bow down thine ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy. It's a good perspective psalm, an idea of getting, your point of view correct when you're coming to God. Sometimes we either come to him with anger or expectation or anything less than humility. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. There is a reason. We act like that we shouldn't give God reasons, but his promises and his statements of who we are, he calls us to be holy, for I am holy. We could expect a bit of cause and effect. We should be able to expect to stand before him in holiness and in righteousness. Be merciful on me, for I cry unto you daily. Again, making sure that our cries are to him, and it's okay to cry daily, to go out to him for our needs. And so it's again a prayer. In the day of trouble, I will call upon you, for you will answer me. This isn't that God might answer or he won't answer. He will answer. He's going to tell you what you want to hear. Well, maybe, maybe not. He might take a little time. We learned that later on with Daniel. The fact that Daniel prayed, but it took weeks for things to happen. Here, it took years for things to happen. You just have to be faithful. Among the gods there is none like thee, O Lord. Neither are there any works like your works. There's no God that has done the things that this God has done. Teach me, O Lord. Teach me, O Jehovah. I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. Unite me to fear you, that I should see your awesomeness. Just because I'm not getting kicked into hell, just because I have salvation by grace, doesn't mean that he's not a fearful God. And we need to keep that in mind. He's still mighty and august and powerful, and he is fearful. And he is great in mercy. I love the word compassion, that he is compassionate to me. He is not a God who doesn't understand or know or see what's going on. O Lord, O God, the proud have risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul and have not set thee before them. These are men who do not want God, do not want their creator God, and they are always assembling against those that do. It's amazing that there is no ambivalence in atheism. They either will hate or love, and they will hate you. Why can't they just be ambivalent? Why can't they just say, you do you and I'll do me? But thou, O Adonai, art a Elohim full of compassion. There it is, this Adonai. When I call out for Adonai, I'm calling out to the God of compassion. Remember that you have Elohim, which is the creator God. You have Jehovah, which is the covenant-making, keeping God. And then you have Adonai, the compassionate, merciful, tender-hearted, long-suffering. These are all the same character. And when we call out to them, we're calling out to them in their different spheres. O turn unto me and have mercy upon me. Show me a token for good, that they that hate me might see it and be ashamed. So be a token of good for me. Know that the evil men may know that I call upon you, and when they see that you have responded, they will know that you are the God who keeps his word, and you are the delivering God. When we see, we're looking at 31, 32. We have 2 more days in Deuteronomy, and then we get going. But I don't want to rush through Deuteronomy. I almost did. I almost just kind of ran it quickly through, and I don't want to do that. So what I need to do, I want to slow it down. He's commissioning Joshua here. And again, he's making sure that he's passing the baton, that he talks about how he gives a reminiscence of who he was and how old he was. He reminds them what God has done, especially in their remembrance to Og and Shihon, that this is the God who wipes out nations and that this is what they're supposed to do, and he will do it, and he is Jehovah. Be strong of good courage, fear not, and be not afraid. You're going to see that repeated again and again. Be not afraid, but be of good courage. Thou must go with this people unto their land that the Lord has sworn. So God has sworn this, and Moses is calling especially to Joshua. And sometimes I think to each one of us, will we not be afraid? Will we go ahead and be strong and courageous? Be strong and courageous. He goes through provisioning the law. He commands them that every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, that Israel may appear. And all the people will appear, men, women, children, strangers, they will all appear and hear the reading of the Torah, the reading of the law again, every 7 years, so they will be reminded. And we need this daily reading. They were supposed to read every 7 years. They would go and hear it as a community, as a nation, that they would read the law and hear it. And this was for everybody. It wasn't just for the fathers. It wasn't just for the leaders. It was for the men and the women and the children and the stranger and the Levite. Everyone within the borders was to come and hear. And this is that their children, which have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land whether you go in Jordan to possess it. This is that people who did not go through the Red Sea, who did not see what happened with the Amalekites, who were not there at Sinai. And you'll have generations that did not hear of Shihon or Og, and they will be settled in the land, and all of a sudden they will forget this history of who they are and what the covenant is. And the Lord has Joshua and Moses come into the tabernacle, and the Lord appears, and he tells Moses that you're going to sleep with your fathers. And this people, he warns them that these people are going to rise up and go a-whoring. And that word keeps coming back again, whore. They will go a-whoring after other gods of the strangers of the land. And they will forsake me and break my covenant. He's not saying this, that he's making them do it. He just knows. He can see it in their heart. It isn't that he just looks into the future. We kind of get caught up in a lot of these attributes. When God can look in your heart and tell whether you're true or not, or whether you're playing games or not. There is still a lot of stiff-necked here. There is still a lot of hardened hearts here. And so he tells them what they're going to do in 31. And 31 turns into a very sad chapter, because in this chapter, he says, and his anger will kindle against them, and he will forsake them and hide his face. And they're going to have all kinds of evils and troubles that will befall them. And they'll answer, why are all these evils happening? Is not God among us? And he's going to hide his face. I mean, you get very negative here. You think that you're just about to go across. You're just about to take the land. You're just about to conquer. But he's telling them this negative stuff so that they will know. Good, therefore write this song and teach it to your children. Put it in their mouths that they may be a witness against them. When they fall, they will know that God had already said they would. Not that God was making them do it, but their hardness of heart would make them want to leave their God. And he goes that I brought you into a land of milk and honey, and they have eaten and filled, and they're going to get waxen fat, and then they will turn to other gods. When they feel like they're satisfied, that's when they will go seeking other gods. And he goes, and it come to pass that when many evils or troubles have begotten them, that this song will testify against them. Because he goes, for I know their imagination, which they go about even now. See, this is the thing. He looks in their hearts and he says, even now I know that you're going to do this. I see it in your heart. Again, this is sad. And he wrote this song and he gave it to Joshua. And he tells Joshua, be strong and courageous. It's like, why? Why would God work so hard to bring them this far and take them in only to know that they were going to do this? Because there is a greater promise here. The promise of giving this land to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to their seed, and also that the Messiah will come. And so there's a stronger promise going than just, individual lives at this point. If you're going to go a-whoring, here's what I'm going to do. I've warned you. I've told you. I even broke it down into very clear understanding. See, like I said, in I think 28, he goes ahead and gives 15 verses of how good it's going to be, and he spends over 70 on how poor it's going to be. So he talks to Joshua, and he tells him to be strong and courageous, and he writes this book, and then they're finished. And he commands the Levites that they put this book inside the Ark of the Covenant. And you'll take this law and put it with the Ark of the Covenant. So it is so sacred, so important that it's in the Ark of the Covenant. A copy of it, or it is in the Ark of the Covenant. But I know your rebellion and your stiff-neckedness. Behold, I am yet alive, and you will rebel against the Lord. How much more after my death? And again, that's kind of sad, that I know you're alive, but after, if you're going to sin this much when I'm here, imagine what's going to happen when I'm gone. And he's telling this, and yet God still wants to take them through, because God is a promise-keeping God. If God let our situations change his promise, he would not be a promise-keeping God. He does not let our situations change his promise. And that's the important thing to learn from here. But he will judge for sin, and you're going to see generations go down. You're going to see, where they will have kings, and kings will lead the people wrongly, and they will go a-whoring after, and then God will send a good king, and then they're going to break up. It's a horrible history, and yet God is still good within it. And he tells them that they're going to gather me all the elders and the tribes, that I may speak these words and call record to heaven against them. Once again, he does that. I bear witness. I call heaven and earth as witness, because he's not going to be around. When they see heaven, when they see the earth, they realize, they're going to remember that this heaven and this earth witnessed these words being said. They are the witnesses. Those are the two witnesses. If you want to know if these words were true, if you see the heavens, if you see the earth, they're the testified that this is true. But know that after my death, you're going to utterly corrupt yourselves. Again, there's a lot of sadness here. Here we are getting ready to go, and you're going to utterly corrupt yourselves. But I still am a promise-keeping God. I still will create this nation. I still will set this up as what I've promised to Abraham, and through Isaac and Jacob, and then the promise to the 12 sons. I will do this. You will not stop my promise. I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days, because you do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke. It's interesting. I was looking at the word abomination, and he goes, it's almost like the world is picking everything abominable to poke in his eye. They don't pick things that don't poke in his eye. And here we're getting this. So again, in 32, we have the Song of Moses. And remember, we had the Song of Miriam and Moses early on. We remember when we talk about Psalms, were Psalms of cultural remembrance of things that did happen. And so here we are with this. And he goes, O heavens and earth will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Again, calling the earth in remembrance. My doctrine will drop as rain, my speech will distill as dew, as a small rain on the tender herb and the showers upon the grass. That's how gentle his words are going to be. And it's sad, but it's gentle words. He talks about God. It's the rock. God is perfect. He is a God of truth without iniquity. But they have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of the children. They are perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and wise? Is it not thy father that brought thee in? Again, telling them that is it not God brought you in like a father? But look at your corruption. And he talks them into remembrance, and how the Most High divided the nations in inheritance and separated out the sons of Adam. The Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. The Lord, his people, he found in a desert, as an eagle serpent's nest, fluttering over her young, spreadeth forth her wings towards them, beareth them on the wings. The Lord alone did lead him. It was the Lord that led them thus far. It was the Lord that was making this happen, and not themselves. And there's a lot of poetry here, a lot of things that he wrote high on the places of the earth. He did eat the increase of the fears, and he made them, and the he here is, of course, Israel is mentioned as the he. He made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, and fat of lambs, and ram of the best breeds of Bashan, and the goats, and the fat of kidneys of wheat, and thou shalt drink the pure blood of the grapes. You had this wonderful feast of wine and food and meats, and God led him. God provided for him. God gave him the best of the land, but he got fat, and he turned from God, and he was covered with fatness, and he forsook God and lightly esteemed. There is that one that's tied to 1 Samuel 2:20, when Hannah is the one who says that she knew that God was a God that he honors on. He said, I honor those that honor me, and those that despise me I lightly esteem. Here he is being lightly esteemed, and they provoke him to jealousy with abominations. So again, the idea of picking things that are purposely abominable to him. And those are the things we're putting forth. It's not just a simple dalliance of something that doesn't mean anything, like the color of a building or, the shape of your dinner table or, that kind of thing. It's always the abominable things. If it's an abomination, that seems to be what the world wants the right to do. It's one of those, you told me I can't, then that's exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to stick it in your face. He is the rock. And the Lord saw it and was provoked. And again, this is about Israel doing this. This isn't just about the nations doing this. This is about people who bore his name. When you say something, when you have Christ's name, or we in the name of God, and you're doing something that's an abomination, it's like saying God said it's okay. And if God didn't say that, you're lying. And he says he will hide his face, and that their end shall be, they are a very forward generation, and they have moved me to jealousy. He talks about that they were provoked me to anger. Again, this is just not a little provoking here. This is something that they're doing on purpose to provoke him to anger. You ever had somebody provoke? Is they're still picking at it, they're still yelling, they're still in your face, provoking. A fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn from the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. The idea that he is going to do this, that he's feeling this way. And he has a sword, the sword without and the terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling and the old man with gray hairs. He will not spare in this provoked anger, and he will scatter. And for they are a nation devoid of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood, that they would consider their latter end, that they would think about what they're doing. This is free will. This is, if you would only use wisdom, if you would understand your end in this. And this is what he's saying here. Do you understand that with his strength, one could chase 1,000 and two could put 10,000 to flight? But other people's rock, the other rock that they're reaching to, these gods, are not like our rock. Their vine is the vine of Sodom, and their fields are the fields of Gomorrah, and their grapes are as gall, and clusters are bitter. Their wine is a poison, and the cruel venom of asp. That's what their wine is. That's their philosophies. Again, he's being very harsh here with them. And to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide. For the Lord will judge his people and repent himself for his servants. And he shall say, where is their gods? He's going to come back and say, where are these gods that you've trusted? Where are the ones that you've worshipped? Why do they not rise up and protect you? And he says that, see now that even I am he. There is no God before me. I kill and make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. He is the powerful God who is over all. And so he is whetting his sword for judgment. He will make his arrows drunk with blood. His sword shall devour flesh, and the blood of the slain and the captives from the beginning of the revengers of the enemies. He will put vengeance on his adversaries. And Moses spoke all these things, reminding them how powerful this God is and how fearsome he is. And Moses spake all these things in the ears of Joshua. And Moses makes an end of speaking to all of Israel. He stops right here. One more thing he says is, set your hearts upon all these words that I testify among you, that you will command your children to observe them, all the words of the law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is my life, and through this thing you may prolong your lives. This is a way for you to prolong your life. And that is why he's having to do this. He's warning them. When you go in and get the promise of God, do not forsake this God. And then God tells him that he's going to take him up to Mount Nebo, and he's going to go up on the Mount Nebo, and there he will die. And he does that, and he says why he did this, and this should be scary for all believers. Not that you'll lose your salvation, but you did not sanctify me in the midst of the children. To set apart him correctly in the midst of the children. And it says the children of Israel, which is, anyone who's a child of God. We need to sanctify God. We need to set him apart. We need to speak clearly about who he is. But Moses won't see the land. He's going to die in Mount Nebo, and he will not go over, but Joshua will lean over. And here we are almost at the very end. But let us not forget that he is still a God who hates sin. He's still a God that loves justice. And he's still a God that we need to sanctify and get correctly. We need to keep him correctly in our churches because no one else is. Thank you.